It is bad when your mask smells hotty-toddy. God almighty. This is the Sweat Equity Podcast. Coming to you from a balmy Tampa, Florida. I'm your host, Law Smith, sitting to my right, your left on the dial, Eric Reginger.
Hotty-toddy is not a thing to describe a smell.
Pragmatic entrepreneurial advice with dick jokes. We are the #1 comedy business podcast, Arbitron rated number one on the comedy business charts out there.
Yeah, all the charts. Billboard top 500,000.
Don't mess me up. All right, let's get through this. We're sponsored today by Go FreshBooks. GoFreshBooks.com/sweat. Get a 30-day free trial on your invoicing, accounting, software. GoFreshBooks.com/sweat. Get you a 30-day free trial. It helps this show out, and it'll help you get your invoices paid and in your piggy bank the next day. Yeah! You like that? We're feeling good? We'll do it live. So this episode,
we'll do it live.
Get your accounting software going. Get paid faster. Don't let it just sit in limbo. GoFreshBooks.com/sweat. 30-day free trial on us. That's on our tab. ExpressVPN.
Wait, what?
Try ExpressVPN.com/sweat. Get 3 months free of anonymity online. Don't Chrome private browser. What's it called? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
You know when you try to think you're being sneaky and you're like, oh man, no one can track me in this setting.
Oh, incognito
mode? Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't work. Yeah. Try ExpressVPN.
Wait, what?
Doesn't really work. Try ExpressVPN.com/sweat. Get 3 months free. Roan. Try Roan.com/sweat. The fanciest, coolest, edgiest financial districtist apparel for working out. Try Roan.com/sweat. 20% off using the link
there it is.
or using the promo code Bridge20. Grasshopper. Try Grasshopper.com/sweat. $75 off an annual plan. $75 off an annual plan. Try Grasshopper.com/sweat. Get your business phone line on your phone. I use it. Don't have a Google voice number like a jabroni.
Jabron.
And lastly, Warby Parker. WarbyParkerTrial.com/sweat. Get 5 free pairs to try on at your house. Get everybody in your house to say, you look like an idiot in those. Oh, those might work.
Get all the horsiest heads in your house. Bring them around.
Send them back. I use them.
Line them up.
I got a prescription through it. WarbyParkerTrial.com/sweat. 5 free pairs to try on at your house or office and get ridiculed by the family until you find a pair you like.
Sure.
Let's get this motherfucker started.
Okay.
What about my sweat equity? Sweat equity. Sweat equity. My sweat equity. My sweat equity.
Alright, we got a link. Zelda for me.
Sweat equity. What about my sweat equity?
We're gonna ease into
Now
something.
you can go. I'm
It's
sorry.
a little foreplay.
I blame it on my kid.
You know, foreplay really helps out. From what I hear, I've been reading a lot of 17 magazine.
Wish you would have told me that 6 months ago.
I'm in a silly goose mood. Joshua, welcome back.
Thank you.
JK. Are we gonna
Can we
have
hit-
a podcast, or are we just gonna look at each other and?
Oh, I thought we were going.
Yes, we are. Why are
Yeah.
you not being a host of a podcast? Well, dude, what is happening?
I'm sleep deprived, which almost makes you drunk at one point.
What the fuck?
JK, why don't you hit him with your plugs? Where can people find you?
Oh my god, just passes it right off.
Yeah, so the company is called Imagine Marketing. You can reach us. The website is imagine-affiliate.com. It's a affiliate marketing company, and we can be reached. We're on Facebook. We're not on Instagram right now, and also on LinkedIn. So you can just find us at Imagine Marketing on either of those platforms. That's where you can find us.
I'm huge on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn whore.
I'm bigger.
Whoa, girthier.
In India.
So this is our third as part of a little kind of a series to kind of see if we can guide you through or just kind of talk out some problems.
You know, you come to these successful guys and get some advice on
It's like
how
a
to
case.
live your life.
It's like a case study.
That's how, yeah.
And look,
That's a,
if you think we're assholes, you just go not do it. You just do the opposite.
Yeah. No,
You know?
that's
For full
the
shit,
angle.
just don't do what
yeah,
we're saying.
no, that's a good angle.
I was just say since coming on, I've gotten probably 3 more clients, bigger brands, all
You're
that kind
welcome.
of stuff. So the case study is going in the right direction, guys. You're doing something right.
Yeah, we'll take our kickback. We'll send your. We have a PO box for that check, so we'll
Yeah.
we'll take some credit for it.
We'll keep it in the Zoom chat or something. You can let me know.
Sure.
So all right. So let's say first and second time, a lot of kind of broader stuff going on. What are you working with now? What's hitting you as the entrepreneur, the young entrepreneur?
Yeah, more and more. It's just so I had to do just the last thing I had to do was the contracts. When I had smaller clients, I wasn't quite as focused on the contracts. But now that potentially there's more money that's going to be floating and exchanging, it's like I wanted to make sure that I locked that down, because one of the biggest things that I was afraid of is that, because how we work is like I said, it's performance based, but I charge only after sales and customers are acquired. And then I take my pay after the partners are paid, right? So I don't want to do this thing where all these people I'm working with are owed money, and then someone's going to front me on the cash. So I had to make sure that I locked down all those contracts and sort of professionaled up a little bit. So that's been sort of a focus in the last month or so.
But
I feel like I said that the last time we talked.
what that was going
I
to be
was
an
like,
issue?
do all the stupid admin contract bullshit. Get that on lockdown, because it sucks, but you have to do it.
Yeah,
Did I not say that?
Get it while it's all fresh and you're not God, I don't want to get around to doing that again or updating that.
Or you get into something with somebody for 6 months and it's a back and forth, and you're like, well, what does the contract say? You're like, well, I don't have a contract with them.
Look,
sucks.
I'm nutty about contracts just because we live in a
You're over the top.
way more litigious society. It just every year feels like there's just more and more sign this agreement. Here's a contract for something that never needed a contract 5 years ago. When it comes to business, it just needs to be very defined. Here are the services. Here are the dates. Here's the payment schedule. And then, the meat of it, those are usually your exhibits A and B. And then, you're defining what services you're providing.
The more specific, the better, usually,
Way better.
on your end.
It's always going to be,
Because they're always going to want more.
first draft's always going to be lopsided in your favor, heavily. One big thing I would recommend is getting an indemnification clause. So I've been coached up by power business attorney Steve Fantetti, who's been on the podcast, FantettiLegal.com, your business refined. He'll get a plug. But, that was one of those things. I'm not great with legal, and I'm not great with accounting. So I got my 2 guys, and I go, look, talk to me like I'm 5. How can I get screwed? One thing that screwed me way late in the game was never let a client pay with a credit card. Because if they
Why?
are that risky client, they can do a chargeback on you.
Uh-huh.
And it happened.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Happened from
that
a
gag.
business attorney
That old gag.
client. But,
Pick
yes.
6. Going the other way with it.
What's up?
Pick 6.
That is a pick 6. So, and then I try to get the business attorney and CPA to kind of talk to each other about, what's most beneficial, right? So you're creating the entity, you're creating your own operating agreements internally, but you're also creating a structure where your personal assets don't get, can't be vulnerable. And so I'm sure you've done that part. An LLC is just pretty good starter.
How many shell corporations do you have, Josh?
How many? What was that?
Shell corporations do you have at this point? It needs
none.
minimum 3 if you really want to indemnify yourself.
We know you've
according to
never
law.
been to Delaware. But what anything you're worried about in as they say, the 4 corners on the contract?
Very professional dick.
What the hell?
What even was that? Your line 2?
I thought it was my
Grasshopper phone?
no,
Forward
We do
slash sweat.
FaceTime
Oh,
with-
you're doing okay.
I do
good.
FaceTime with the kids. I thought we'd do it at 7.
Okay, well,
Sorry, really unprofessional. But what has you worried about contract wise? Because you're doing transactions, you don't want to be on the hook for
Right.
accounts payable, even though it's very noble of you to really want to make that a thing. I think you'll see the incentive of you getting people paid quickly will make them want to do more, if I'm guessing correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then we're kind of the last people to take the to get our share of it. So I am responsible to the partners that are ultimately driving a lot of the sales and stuff like that, and have separate contracts for them as well as the individual clients. So I just got to. So there's basically a clause in the contract, right, that says if we break the contract or whatever, it's like. You still have to pay the partners. That Imagine Marketing is not liable for, any of the sales or the customers that were, provided through our company or through the partners. So that was my biggest concern, honestly, was that someone would, try to break off and I would be in the middle of a contract or wherever, because we don't really have, I think it's like a 90-day notification or something like that before they break the contract. But yeah, that was my biggest concern.
Yeah, and like if it goes to mediation or goes to court, it's in your county. You want your home court, stuff like that. You want to have everything listed out. Look, this isn't the sexiest stuff, and that's kind of what the podcast is a little bit about, like kind of getting to the minutia of it. But this is where a lot of people get fucked. Like by not, you have to pretend to be obsessed.
you can't be a cool guy.
Right.
You can't be like,
unless
legal
you're
stuff.
loaded. That's the only way you can really.
Yeah,
like,
unless
be
you
like,
are
"These
loaded and
those
you're willing
nerds
to
take
pay.
care of that shit.
Yeah,
you
there
know?
are fines that happen, dude. There are things that happen on late fees, whatever. Like, you can be loaded and be a cool guy and not do any of this shit, and you're going to pay for it, but, like, most people, you got to be on top of it.
But either way, I was just like, even if you had the resources to really delegate it out and never have to look at it, you'd still really want to look at it to know, to know your terms, to know, to just get yourself educated on
Yeah,
that.
just to be a good business owner, you need to know as much as you can about everything going
yeah.
on. And
Did you
that
know
sucks.
a text or an email can be considered a legally binding contract?
Yeah, but that's only because you're psycho with that shit, and you drop that like.
Who
it's a
cares if
cool
you have a long
tidbit
email
of
signature?
knowledge.
I asked
Yeah.
our business attorney to add a clause in there that protects me from colorful language.
Could you work up a 900-page disclaimer that goes?
And so
on
I had the longest
on
like
the bottom
email
of our
signature of all
emails? Yeah,
time.
that'd be great.
But I was worried, you get very casual with people in the dick joke stand-up world, sweat equity world. You get kind of really, cool with everybody, and you don't want to try to like be funny, and then it gets taken the wrong way, and then you're really screwed, right?
Yeah, I don't do that in emails though. I'm
I
very
know.
professional
I'm
in
ne-
email. I'm
I'm
not dropping
needy.
dick jokes in emails.
I'm needy when I don't
I'll
get on
do it-
stage.
I know.
Is this in reference to your colorful text that you sent 2 months ago?
Yeah. What was that?
I don't remember.
Was it the black guy? That
Oh
died?
yeah,
Guy
yeah.
with the
You
big
probably
dick?
got the meme. Yeah, that guy
Was it?
probably.
Bro, that's not good that I
share it
know
around.
exactly which
I share it around
black dick meme you're saying.
because you got on a bunch of group texts that you're just.
Yeah, I got it like 14 times.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I try to spread
Along with
joy.
my dad.
Yeah, your dad getting those is not that great, but
It's funny. In retrospect, it is funny to think about my dad getting all that.
So-
It's funny to me.
so I would recommend one thing I wish I did early on also was get a template going, but like a drop down template almost. Try to make it as templated as possible, and then put it in Proposify and use that.
You're talking about contract template.
Yeah, but you can what I like about Proposify is you can do the proposal and have templates for that, and then you can have the contract on the same document. So they're scrolling through the proposal, the slide deck or the PowerPoint or whatever you want to call it, and then you can go, here's the contract, sign it right here, and you can connect it. So if you're doing some projection numbers up here in the proposal and you want them to be in a range down in the contract, you can do that. Look, it's a bitch to set up, Like, but
That's that front end work that once if you do that, you're good. Like,
yeah,
get it straight right
huge.
away. Like all that shit. If you
I
got
just
it,
went like, I'm gonna spend 8 hours one night. I'm gonna get this down to a point where I can use it, and it's gonna save me a lot of time. And you just had to sit there and grind it out.
well, it's just like how many people do we know that it's like I got to send this contract out, and it's like
Right.
why does that take more than 5 minutes? Well, it's
Right.
gonna take me like 2 hours. Why?
The further you get away from a sale, that meeting, the further away you are from the sale. So it's like that last meeting you have with the potential client, as the minutes are ticking. So if you can flip that around quickly or in the room is where I was trying to get to, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, you can
wanna-
have that
'cause they're-
template.
they're
Pop it up on your
emotionally-
laptop. Boop, boop, boop.
Emotionally, they've already said, I'm going to do this.
Right.
But all
you
that
don't want
time,
them thinking. You don't want them thinking.
that time
about
can really fuck you up.
Yeah.
And lose a sale, so lose a client. Other than any other kind of agreement stuff, or
Or
Yeah,
not
well-
agree. We don't have to talk about legal documents the whole time. We could talk about other business issues. Just saying.
Is that my,
Tax
is that my
articles!
choice?
really
Yeah.
drill down on these legal documents.
well, it's
we
important.
talked about it for
and
10,
it
10
to feel,
15.
Look, we're not
Let's go a
lawyers,
little deeper.
but we definitely love when Fantetti comes on and he just drops knowledge, and you're like, oh, that's why you have an LLC
Yeah,
instead
but
of
none of us are Fantetti.
right. We'll have him back on.
Call him up.
Canadian Wonder Boy, but so things are going well. You're
Yeah.
in what, month 4, 5?
Yeah,
Really?
I think the business was technically registered like January 30th, but we got our software and the website was built and everything probably in mid-April. So we're only month 3 or 4 right now exactly.
And look, Mazel Tov, you should have a beer and kick your heels up for a little bit and go, look, you're doing well in the COVID era,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's something that's something to remember too. You have to really go, hey, when there's times that are going kind of good,
Yes.
take 5 minutes and go, okay.
Yes, I'm a big
Good,
fan of that.
good.
People there's nothing wrong with celebrating a tiny victory. Like
Yeah.
if you don't and that goes away, you're not like what does it matter?
Like,
Go
I
ahead,
would say,
celebrate.
the-
Fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that shit. Like and if you failed the next day, great. You got to at least have a nice night where you felt like things were going good. Like that
Yeah.
that sort of thing was like, oh, just pump the brakes there. You don't want to get too excited. It's like, well, why? Why not enjoy a little victory?
Have
you
a
know?
little cheat day in your diet.
Exactly.
Get that cheesecake out. Get that
Yeah.
that port wine with it. Yeah. Pair it together. Real sweet. Oh yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, it. We talked a lot about self-reflection on the first episode you came on about, you got to find who you are, you as the owner and you as the business. You got to do the meeting in the woods by yourself and do the shrooms.
Yeah.
Who are we? Kind
Yeah.
of branding exercise.
There's
But-
nothing that'll make you figure out who you are as a person more than owning a business alone.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I can.
It's isolating, man.
What am I? Okay, I'm actually not going to do this accounting shit. I better hire somebody because I'm at this point I'm not going to do it.
And if you can self-reflect for 10 minutes every day at the end of the day and go, oh man, here's what we're doing well. We need to do more of that. Here's what we need to work on and knock that shit out. You get so caught up in doing juggling all these tasks and anxiety if things are going to come in. If you can stay disciplined on that kind of stuff, that'll keep you kind of grounded.
Yeah, for sure. I think, well, and back to your point about isolating and everything, building the website from I'm not a web developer necessarily, but building the website out to a place where it's professional enough looking. It's I didn't have a ton of the investment coming into it, or rolling cash from another business or something into it.
You had the sweat equity, bro.
I had the sweat
Yeah!
equity, exactly. So
I have an erection. Sorry.
So yeah. So it's just been, and then but
Baffle.
one of the things is that I kind of before was coasting in my working for an employer where I kind of mastered the system and could just let it, I could leave it alone, forget it or set it and forget it. and and be comfortable. But kind of taking on this challenge as a business owner and learning all these things, working with the CPAs, the contracts, the interfacing with clients, all that kind of stuff is really, I feel like it's caused me to grow as a person and as a professional and obviously as a business owner. So I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, and kudos to you for being, somewhat business professionally vulnerable to come on the show and talk about your plight as you're going through it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you say you had a gig before where you were kind of learning the ropes or whatever, but like that's usually what happens. I think about mechanics all the time, Snap-on, but like those guys, they all know how to fix cars.
Asperger's.
But they don't ever open their own shop until they sit around and they work for some guy and they see everything he does and they see how he does it and they say, well, I'm going to do it this way differently and I like what he did there and that sort of thing. Most of the time, the skill that you're doing in these businesses is not, it's always the business owning aspect where it's, paying the bills and marketing and all that shit,
Yeah, you realize how much like admin and clerical shit gets in the way.
Well, I mean, like the best mechanic in the world could be a horrible businessman. Like, you know, like it's
typically
it's
a lot of small businesses.
Different thing,
A lot of local businesses, small businesses, like talking like that local, like, a couple, maybe a handful of employees tops, like small business. Typically, someone opens one because they're really good at one thing, right?
Right.
And then you got to have the ego check to go, I don't know. I know what I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I did with our business legal, and that's what I did with our accounting and a bunch of other things. Like, I don't know graphic design language. I need to know how to speak to someone so I can manage them. So I had to learn theory, and I had to learn the vernacular, because I knew we're not going to scale unless I know how to talk to everybody.
Exactly. You had to be able to explain what you needed from these people who were better at what they're doing than you.
And, at night when I'm trying to fall asleep, search through Instagram or Pinterest for good designers. Like, find them instead of waiting until the project happens. That's something I could do, try to fade asleep. So I would go, okay, I'd call it flex time. This would be like, you're not quite asleep. You're trying to go to sleep, but like you're just messing around on your phone,
Right.
and instead of just.
This is after the actual flex time in the banana hammock in front of the mirror, greased up.
Well, I mean, that's
shower.
showtime.
Then you get in it. That's.
And
flex time
I don't wear a
original,
banana hammock
prime.
anywhere. I just wear an eye patch down there.
Oh, yeah.
So like two parts are always hanging out, but
Yeah.
one part's pretty good.
It's like a hot air balloon.
Yeah. We're being silly geese.
I don't know what I mean.
But so let's talk going forward. What are you concerned about? Entrepreneurship is an isolating raft out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. So we're here for you, brother. What's going on?
No, honestly, I think one of the biggest questions that I'm going to face is when the work gets too much for me, because there's going to be some sort of like cost benefit ratio of like, I've got this much money coming in the door. Like if I hire more employees, like that's going to create, I might be able to acquire more clients, but now it's a lot more work and everything. So finding that, like, if I find a sweet spot with the number of clients I have and comfortable, and it's like a comfortable amount of work and a comfortable amount of money coming in, that'll be a question of like, kind of going back to the mushrooms and the self-reflection and saying like, hey, like how big do I need to make this thing or try to make this thing? How much do I need? And then also kind of long-term planning, right? So if it does have sort of a sustainable, it has momentum behind it, right? And I say, well, am I trying to set myself up to sell the company in 15 years or 10 years or whatever the thing is? So, right now the focus is all on learning and implementing and all that kind of stuff. And then, those are questions that I'll have to address sort of like, down the line and, as more clients and money comes into the company. So,
well, to get to the point where you're going to really be kind of content, I would say you're going to have some kind of team members around you at some point.
Oh, yeah. You're years from...
You can't be a one-man show, for sure.
right.
You ain't going to relax for a couple of years, dude.
Well, and look,
you know that. But like...
And the best thing, one of my professors in school would say, like, if you're doing a pitch for a business plan pitch, we used to have to write business plans, and you had to do it like a presentation. Second slide's always, what
pic.
the exit plan is.
Yeah.
Every business has an exit. Nothing's precious, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It goes with your weekends and nights too. I bet you're realizing now you quit a 40-hour week job to work an 80-hour week job, as they say. And so,
well, in between that, I think an important thing for you and people like you is what is your time worth, sort of thing. When you're talking about maybe hiring people, sort of thing. It's like there's a lot of things. Like Law and I, when we were doing things, we could do things quickly, and we knew what we wanted to do. We know how we wanted it to look on a website or whatever. And it might have been faster for us to do it in one scenario, but in another scenario, maybe we should have hired somebody. Yeah, it's a weird thing that like I can't really guide you on, but like that's an important thing to think about.
well, one thing I wasn't doing was reflecting back after projects or after clients exit and going, what did we do well? What did we not do well? And
Which is hard.
That's a big mistake.
It takes a lot of time to do that.
Yeah, but you're kind of constantly obsessed about work and you can't make time, 20 minutes maybe, to do that. Also, we didn't build off of the success that we had. So every client you got, that's a case study. That's a way to show something, right? You're writing that next marketing thing currently while they're under your management.
Right. Always setting yourself up.
Right, and everything you do well is a marketing opportunity. So upon exit, part of your process should be, how can I get more out of that client?
Can you write me a
referral-wise?
testimonial?
Right. Can you do testimonial?
Google review, whatever it takes, that sort of shit.
All that stuff. Video testimonial if they really
Even
like
better.
you. Can you tell people about, your experience?
That's something, the video testimonial, that if you have an office and you can have 10 square feet where you have a camera set up, ready to go. Boop.
You can get
Hey,
away
you
with-
want to do a video testimonial?
You can kind of get away with it with Zoom now and just cut it up.
Yeah, you could, but to make it as good
Tell
as you
me some
can,
compliments,
I know that
please,
you kind of just
after
mail it
paying
in.
me.
People, because if you're doing a good job, they're just as happy to pay you to do a good job, and then
Right.
and then build on that by sharing it with others, because what you're doing they can't do. That's why they're paying you to do it.
You sound like
Stupid.
Dwight Yoakam.
I need my Seinfeld or my.
They're hiring you to do what you can't do. But it's going to be about process to scale, and it's going to be about figuring out your sales and marketing funnel on the other side. I see two flip sides to kind of a professional service business. One head of view is business development, and how do we create this model that can kind of work in a weighted average. You'll know if I have this many qualified leads, we're going to be fine here, here, and here. Well, how do I get all those qualified leads? What's our marketing plan, and how does that work? And then you're probably harvesting your current, like your friends and family, your friends of friends, the acquaintances, that kind of sphere of influence. So you're probably harvesting your professional contacts to kind of, I'm guessing, to get these clients, right? And so,
If you ain't, you should be.
right. And the goal, at the end of the year should be having a client that you had no connection to. How can you get there, right? Because the well will run dry at some point. But, or how can you make it like MLM, like Rodan and Fields? And they tell somebody, and then they tell somebody, and then they manage
Tell two
somebody.
friends.
And then you have a garage full of inventory.
Yeah.
What I will say is, actually, one of my first real client. I had a couple that one was a friend, and another one kind of a small companies, or not really even companies, just more websites, e-commerce stores. My first real client was someone I didn't know at all before, prior. So I think we talked about this a little bit in the last time. Was basically like finding some commonality or some common ground, right? So if you can relate to these people on somewhat of a personal level. And then you sort of like, there's actually a guy that I work with who's sort of an account manager, but for me right now, and he helps out with, sort of like client, the client pipeline and all that kind of stuff. He pointed me to a Tim Ferriss article, which is like basic. You're not a fan? You're not a fan? Is that a deflation?
It's kind of like Tony Roberts. Like you like him, but you're like, I don't know.
Tim, tell me how to manage my $80,000 a month pharmaceutical company. What?
So,
there's a step in between there. Okay, thanks, Tim. Sorry. Anyways, go ahead.
No, but it was just basically that he was saying is that, you know, asking basically just like these personal, like thought-provoking questions of, you know, CEOs and owners or whatever, like how it was like an article about how he got a couple students at this Yale class that he guest lectured for. They were able to get, you know, people at Disney, people at ESPN, whatever, they were able to access them through this like sort of email protocol. So always testing, always open to new ideas. But yeah, I completely with you know, relying on that and like, you know, internal network that I've got to, but also you know, trying to recruit new clients and outside of that sphere, like you said.
Yeah, tinkering. Look, man, you could cut up this podcast if you found any clip for you, and cut it up, use it to promo yourself. You know, like
Definitely, you should.
So I mean,
We hereby grant you access to do that.
yeah, you have our permission.
I don't really want to do it, but
Eric will gladly cut you up.
I
in the
might.
ass.
I don't know. I actually have some time on my hands.
But I mean, like,
don't know.
it is that thing of like, again, everything you're doing well is a marketing opportunity, and every problem you're having to solve internally, that's an ops process thing you need to tackle, right? So,
Right.
But this is a unique situation that most people do not have, where it's, you know, you can chop up a video
Right.
clip. It's like, you know, and that goes back to my
I'm
podcast
just-
as a marketing tool.
I'm
situation
being angry
that-
dad, angry coach, just to kind of bring home the point.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I know you're not comfortable with where you're at. Like, there's,
Right.
but I just want to drill it in a little bit, just to, for a little
Be more
theatrics.
uncomfortable, Josh.
No, just to remind,
If
like,
you ever feel comfort,
look,
Yeah.
any advice I give,
What are you
I'm
doing?
talking to myself.
should be
too.
working right
You
now.
know, I wish I was that altruistic that I could just give advice and just mean it for the other person. But I'm also talking
But
to
you're
myself.
always talking to yourself.
I'm trying to.
We know.
I'm self-absorbed. Yeah, not narcissistic, self-absorbed. But
No, I'm with you.
I got a great ass. I can't help it. So
Bring that into it.
hey, Brazilian women stop me in the
Back
street
that into it.
and they're like, "How do you get that ass?" And I go, "Don't worry about it.
I've never seen that.
God
happen,
given,
but whatever.
all the time.
It's a good ass.
They
For
stop.
a man, it's a good ass.
It's a great ass. Let's get it straight. There's no hair on it. So
Doesn't
going
matter.
forward, what do you see coming up? Do you have a work methodology? How about that?
I mean, honestly, it's
Have you
it's
picked one?
right. Yeah. So one of my things is just like I said, kind of that understanding where the value is as far as because I do have one or two people that I'm working with, and thankfully I've had a couple developers kind of I've reached out to on LinkedIn and they're helping me in my spare time with some of the implementation when I need that. But is understanding where the value is as far as the client, you know, where my client focus is. So you know, seeing where the biggest opportunity is and just like how to manage my time and kind of doing that right now.
Ooh,
So
that reminds me. Do a timesheet. This nerdy, but you're a labor business. You're a service
Right.
business, right?
right,
Your commodity is time.
right.
And if you figure out over time where you're wasting time, that's that reflection. If you can spend that 10 minutes at the end of the week and go, man, I ate so much time talking to this bullshit, unqualified lead
Right.
to try to convert them. Man, I burned a lot of time doing that. Like just chasing someone who wasn't going to do it anyway. And I never realized it because you're just like, I need it. And if I was just calmer and stuck to my plan, I would have saved time and got stuff done earlier. But the work methodology question was more about on your process, on getting the actual work done. Are you agile?
Are you working? Are you getting up at a certain time
no.
every day? Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
are you agile? Are you waterfall method? Are you what kind of work style are you? That's the question I'm going to put out there to you. I didn't figure out till I was 3 or 4 years in, until we took that Asher Strategies personality test, and it was like your project manager score is an 8 out of 100. And I was like, God, I need to fucking work on this shit. But my ops score, like director of ops, was like 87.
Humble brag.
Oh yeah, I'll brag about that all day.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but those
dude.
two
Now
things-
that's the
Op
narcissism
score,
seeping through. There.
Yeah.
Jesus, yeah.
I mean, you know,
102 on the narcissism on this.
my highest score was dynamic CEO. So you know, it was a 90.
Dynamic
Yeah.
CEO, not passive CEO. Pepperidge
Did they have
Farm.
passive aggressive?
They're the
Director?
I'm saying like the CEO of Pepperidge Farm is probably a little bitch.
But you would think operations and project
now I gotta
management
find
go
out if that
hand
guy's
in
like a
hand,
badass
right?
Right.
or woman.
Right.
And that's what I thought. And so if you look up, you can Google Rike. Remind me, and I'll send this to you. WRIKE. It's a project management app, but they have really good resources on how to choose your work methodology. Are you Prince 2? Are you Six Sigma? Are you Lean? You know, what kind of thing? Set it now.
Right.
What works for you? Because you can kind of play around. Maybe we're this, maybe we're this. So by the time you bring people on, you already got that system just down, right?
Yeah.
And one thing we used to do that kudos to Eric for, I think, getting it going was we had kind of a playbook in Evernote. Here's, you know, when we're doing website development, we're writing how to do the work for the future person we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah, it's somebody that you just pulled off the street that has the skills to do what you need them to do, but they don't know what order to do it or whatever. You know, that sort of thing. Where you know, every time you're going to ask these people this question. Where's the images you want to put on your website? Do you have that? Do you have your branding? Do you have
anything really
punchless? It's something that's going to happen every time.
Right.
And then anything really difficult we had to figure out, and it was excruciating. We had to take a step after we're done because we used to go like next thing,
exactly.
get to the next thing, and then we'd take like 5 minutes, screen record, you know, what we just figured out.
Yeah, teach ourselves how to do it in the future.
Because we don't want to put it to memory.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't have room for that.
Clearly we don't have like, we're not that.
I don't even remember what we're talking about.
What are we talking about? I know we're hitting on that 2-minute warning, or we passed it.
Yeah, we're past it, but it's all good.
Anything else until we talk to you next time?
Yeah, no, I think that's about it. One of the things that I'll say is kind of convenient for me is I've seen is that instead of finding basically a category or an industry or something like that, is what I'm going to be able to do. Hopefully, is I'll be able once I I'll be able to have multiple brands or multiple brands within an industry, just because a lot of these relationships that I'm creating with some of these publishers and partners and all that, these people are basically referring traffic, is that I can represent. It's almost like a public relations agency where I can represent 2 or 3 people doing the same thing, and then I'm able, once I have that relationship, I can capitalize that multiple times over, right? So that's one of the things that I'm kind of walking into that I didn't necessarily see before.
Well, you're doing great because of our tutelage, and I couldn't have said it in a nicer way.
Yeah.
There's the angry dad.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
What are you doing?
No, I'm happy
One
for you.
of these times, I'm expecting Josh to be a sponsor and to be paying for my mortgage and shit.
Yeah.
So get it going, please. So
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
And make it, that'd be great.
No, this is a great sub series to the show. So I like doing this. We'll talk to you next month, man.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
All right.
Sweat equity.